Alright folks, we're back with the Force RC L-39 Albatros, and basically we just got done securing in this 11RX 7-channel with stabilization receiver. Got a, I don't want to call it a mess of wire under there, but it's actually neatly organized, but it's definitely a mess because there's a lot of it. But it's all underneath here, and so everything's kind of secured and held in position. You can see we're not exactly flat, but we're close enough to get the job done properly. And the antennas, the diversity antennas, are where we want them. So now we just have to figure out a way to get this battery in here so that it's not a real pain in the neck to put it in and out every time. That's criteria number one. Criteria number two, well, criteria number one is that it fits. Criteria number two is going to be that we can get it in and out of there every time without a huge pain in the neck. And just to show you, this canopy does fit right now. It's a little tail heavy right now. That's typical on an EDF style setup. And I'd like to use this foam so that foam will help to reinforce and strengthen that without adding a ton of weight. So, a couple of different ways we can go about doing this. We have to know what orientation this thing's going to fit, period. But we need to know if we're going to CG out or if we're going to even be remotely close to CGing out. If the center of gravity doesn't work, then what's the point, right? So I would say that the next best step is going to have to include taking a look at that. See how it's not wanting to fit in there? This is a zippy compact 2200 milliamp 60C. But you see what's happening is it's not wanting to let this thing sit down all the way because we're bumping into the wires. We're bumping into something else. I decided I'm going to put that antenna up here like that so that this battery won't come into contact with it every time it bumps. Even if that's just temporary, you know, until we figure out our packaging solution for this battery. See, the canopy's going on, but it's hitting something still. That's not cool at all. In fact, that's kind of a problem that I'm not 100% sure how to work out yet. Okay, so let's drop that in there upside down. See, we're still not getting clearance. That is not cool at all. And I don't know that I could have got a whole lot further back because, to be honest, I need somewhere for the receiver, but the servo's here for the elevator, so that makes that not work out so hot. So let's try doing this. I think we just tried this. I swear we did. It's going to irritate me to death if I have to try to modify and cut this thing up because I like the way it looks. It's cool. They got little instrument clusters in there. But look, as soon as we get the battery out of there, that thing fits. And it fits well. So that is not good. Let's try stuffing this in a different direction like this. Every time I do it, no matter what angle I put that in, it's always hitting. Okay, let's see how the CG looks real quick here. While we're fighting with this, we can go ahead and mark this now. Looks like the glue has held that on just fine now. Remember, we're, according to the diagram, we're 50 millimeters back from the leading edge. So here's 50 millimeters from the leading edge. Okay, so I'm just going to make a little scrape mark there. Okay, so there's our center of gravity, which also coincides with basically right there next to those servos. I suspect that we'll be able to get this thing to CG out okay, but I am very concerned about getting the lipo to fit, because there's not much material you can take off on the bottom. But the only thing I can think to do would be to push our pilot up somehow. Maybe cut this out and slide it up a little bit. That would definitely do it for us. It's just really annoying to have to do that. I suspect there's something I'm going to end up fixing or changing to make this work. Something like that, probably. Where I've really got the leads in a contorted, weird spot. See, I'm still not quite there, guys. Seems like it should work, but it's definitely not. Okay, let's turn on the radio system. I gotta try something real quick. Letting everything initiate. And that's the other thing you gotta consider when you're working with these EDF jets and things. Well, with any plane, really. But particularly the EDF jets, they seem to be the worst for room for the battery, and it's like they forgot you're going to need a battery. Gosh, that's a lot different than what we need. Okay, so stabilizer's on, up, right, up. Everything's working now. So now I was just going to test the elevator real quick. Oh yeah, we don't have any issues with getting anywhere near anything dangerous there. So at least that's something going for us. And I'll have a voltage alarm in here when I'm flying, even though I probably won't be able to hear it. Got different types of foam over here. These are some smaller pieces. In fact, this one would probably work about perfect for what I'm thinking about next. Because I need to get some side pieces. I don't know if I want to cut a solid block. I don't think I need that much. I think it'll just be wasteful of a good piece. Although I do have these pieces too. We'll see how if they help any. If you end up doing this cutting method, make sure when you're cutting that you check above your work, so you're not going to damage anything that's above it. Or yourself, of course. But it just works. It works real nice. So I've been doing that for a long time. It's a little on the stinky side though. That's not that big a deal. So yeah, so I'm thinking we're probably going to have to adjust the canopy a little bit to make this stuff all fit. I'm really kind of annoyed about that, but okay, so that isn't going to impact us. I think it'll be fine where it is. And that keeps the battery tight, because by the time you're done hooking up your lead, there's nowhere for it to go. But a lot of times when I'm putting a battery in like this, you want to kind of have it so that the battery is actually in there solid, and then you go ahead and hook up your connections if you can do it that way. But look what happens to this, it just bulges. That I'm not crazy about. So if I took and halved that, then that would do the same thing too, except slightly better. So I'm just going to trim this a little bit on the end so I don't have to fight the touching the elevator. Control arm. Okay, so when we're satisfied with this, then I can go ahead and get that glued in. Oh, I can trim that down a little bit more too. It'll go up toward the nose. There's a nose cavity up here I keep forgetting about. Okay, and then I'm gonna be interfering with the canopy, so I gotta trim a little bit more yet. Let's test it. Hope we're hitting still. So we gotta bring that down just a little bit more. Okay. Is that good? That's good. So this is the way you'll do it. You'll lay it in there, you'll plug in the battery, you wait for things to initiate, and then you'll get your leads slid down into the crevice area. Okay, so everything I'm satisfied with so far, with the exception of the fact that we don't actually technically fit, because the bottom of the canopy here, the decorative canopy. So let's see how bad our CG is. Okay, we got our CG points there and there. Okay, it looks like it would be good to have that battery back a little bit, but don't have too much room to go. Let's take this off just for comparison's sake. I don't know if you guys could tell, but I kind of scored. Okay, that brought the center of gravity back. So that's actually promising, because I'd rather have a little bit nose-heavy plane, especially a hand-launching plane. Okay, so I made a little scratch in there when I was doing the marks, and you can feel that with your fingertips. Alright, so how the heck am I going to get this thing smaller? Oh, I hate compromise. Especially on this sort of stuff, but whatever. I guess it's going to have to be a compromise. So I can cut this, cut this, cut this, and take the whole canopy out. But if I do it in such a way, I could cut so that it just pivots up, but then it stays intact. That's probably the best way to do it. Just going to take and just do a very careful, neat cut. Very careful. Okay. Remember, the battery up front's really where the problem is, and this is straight versus this has got that little bump in it, so I'm going to try to cut it here. Didn't cut myself. That was kind of close. Alright, so now that we have our little pilot guy there, I'm going to just tuck that into itself like that, and you won't even know You won't know except that it's not quite seated all the way down. Is it? I think it is. So yeah, so we're in there. Feels seated all the way down. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so now that that's seated down like that, just for the time being, which is real unfortunate that we have to cut that instrument cluster, because shoot, if I'd have thought about that, I'd have done it the other way, but I didn't in time. So what I'll do is I'll just hold that up in an acceptable spot and just give it one piece of tape. Just regular tape, nothing special here. And that's just going to more or less hold it captive in that position. It can be redone easily enough. Okay, that'll work. I can live with that. I'd rather lose a little teeny decorative canopy thing than have the plane not fly. That looks really good, guys. I'm happy with that. And then the CG is just ever so slightly forward, which I definitely don't mind. And that thing is going to be great, guys. Well, so this has been a really tedious, long, ridiculous build. And there's one detail that I haven't done yet. As you can see, the flaperons. Look nice. Servo set up. Okay, so right aileron. We're going to open this up to 145. Left aileron. 145. Okay? So what that does for us is it just... Okay, they don't like it all the way down there. That is not good, so we'll back it off until they're happy. Okay, so if they're not happy at 145, we'll go to 120. Looks like 118 is fine. And the only detail I've got to work out is just getting a little red tape on top of that. So, but for now, guys, I think we're going to call it quits. It's been a long day, and I think I'm done for today. The next up is going to be the maiden, and it's going to be pretty sweet. I'm excited for it. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.